Welcome to What You're Craving. I'm Molly, and today I am so excited to be talking to Bob Roth, who is one of the most experienced and sought after meditation leaders in America. He's been teaching transcendental meditation to thousands of people for 45 years, which is un- unbelievable on many levels, Bob. But that's another story. And he is the author of the 2018 New York Times bestseller, Strength and Stillness, The Power of Transcendental Meditation, a great read. He's the director for health and wellness and CEO of the David Lynch Foundation, which brings TM to students in underserved schools, military veterans, and their families who suffer from post traumatic stress, and to women and children who are survivors of domestic violence. Bob is the host of the iHeartRadio podcast Stay Calm and the Sirius XM radio show Success Without Stress. He's also the meditation teacher to so many people. You may have heard of them, like Oprah, Ellen, Tom Hanks, Robin Roberts, and Molly Carmel. I don't know.
Best.
So
The best is last.
it is so great to see you and get to be with you today. Um, really, really excited to talk about this, to talk about everything. You are one of my favorite people, but also a really knowledgeable and important person to help us all figure out what we're craving. That's what we're going to talk about today.
And I am very happy to be part of your show and to do anything with you, Molly Carmel. You're a wonderful person and a genuine, authentic soul. And
Uh,
the
samesies,
things you do,
samesies.
thing that you do is with the best of intentions and you make a wonderful impact in the world. So I'm happy to be here.
Whew, okay, get the tissues out. So, Bob, I guess the first question I want to ask is how in the world does somebody become a meditation? Like, you're not just like a meditation teacher. You didn't just go, take a little course online. This is not the kind of meditation teacher you are. You are like real deal transcendental meditation teacher. What in the world would make somebody want to do that for a living?
Well, if I would go back when I was 17 years old in high school and I was working for Senator Bobby Kennedy,
Okay.
volunteering when he was running for the Democratic nomination for president in California, um, meditation was not part of my vocabulary.
Yeah.
My future was to be a U.S. senator like Bobby Kennedy, particularly after he was assassinated, because I wanted to change the world.
Mm,
And I saw him speak in San Francisco before he was, 3 days before he was killed, and it was, devastation when he
mm.
died. And so when I went to Berkeley, it took me about a month to realize I didn't want to be a U.S. senator, that politics was not going to heal the soul of the nation. And through a number of steps, I learned to meditate. And right from the beginning, I knew that this was intuitively something that could make a difference in the world. Because first I thought politics, then I thought education. And then I realized for some reason as a kid, that the change that was needed in the world was going to have to be on a healing on a far deeper level than book learning or politics could provide. So I started and became a teacher of transcendental meditation in 1972, and have the same passion today that I had as that 17-year-old kid wanting to change the world, but now doing it through meditation and not through legislation.
Do
And
you, s-
that has to happen. I'm not opposed to that.
no.
Just that isn't my path.
Do you still feel like it's one of the most important things that we have to do? Like, do you still feel that way about meditation?
Core of my being, more now than ever before, because you
S-
just look at, go ahead.
Well, I mean, this is the big question because I think that there are people who have very complicated views of meditation. They have a lot of blocks to meditation. I certainly was one of them in a big way, and we can talk
As
about
was
that.
I,
I
as was
mean,
I. Yeah.
what was your beef with it?
Well, I started in 1969. Nobody knew what it was. And
Fair.
me, my father was a doctor and I'm a skeptic. I like science. I was skeptical. I was not,
Mm.
I didn't go to Berkeley to become a freak or a hippie. I went there because I wanted to change the world. And so meditation was far from not even a word in my vocabulary, but I was stressed and There were riots in the streets, and there was one person who I respected so enormously because of his integrity and honesty as a human being,
Mm.
and he was doing this thing, and I told him I don't believe in any of that stuff, and he said, you don't have to believe in gravity for an apple to fall, and you don't have to believe in this transcendental meditation to practice it.
Mm.
So I learned it, and it was so relaxing and so physically rejuvenating that I knew there was something here.
Yeah. I have this idea that, pain points are growth points and
Oh yeah.
like in such a significant way. And I know for me, I think I've known you. I think I've been doing transcendental meditation for 6 years, I think. And I was so against it for many reasons. A, I had people around me that were really obsessed with it, like my stepfather, my really good friend Johnny Podell, who is how I these are the two ways that I met you. And I was like, oh, will they just stop talking about this? That's how, by the way, like I've become that person. Um, but I remember really profoundly because I'm a sober person. And I don't eat sugar and all of these things. And I was in a really dark place in my life. And I was having I was having drink cravings. And I thought, well, this is not okay. And I knew because I had some spiritual background, like I knew I had to kind of trade in my spiritual Chevy for a Cadillac. Like I knew I had to do more. And the first thing that came to me was like, okay, I guess I'll just like take the plunge and do TM. Is that like how people you think get there?
I think people don't look for light unless it's pretty dark.
Ugh,
And,
that's the
and if it's
tweetable moment, ain't it? People do
yeah,
not look for that is such like in the timing right now.
yeah.
We have to remember that.
And the thing is, when it's, deceptively bright outside, then you think, "I'll never need light," because because the environment is providing it, but then the environment doesn't, it's transitory. If I'm happy and I'm getting happiness from a relationship, or I'm getting happiness from a job, or I'm getting happiness from a drug, or I'm getting happiness, and it's so transitory. In the moment, it's not, but
Right.
then it just dissipates like sort of sand in your hand. It just,
Mm,
goes through. And so but we still look for it. We still need stability. We still need light. We still need that happiness. And so it drives a person to look for it. It just we crave it like you crave oxygen or water. We need it. And so then for thousands of years you hear the line true happiness lies within, or you hear meditation could have something to do with happiness, but there's so much confusion right now about what's real meditation, and it's a lot of it's just jumping on the bandwagon and trying to, private equity, whatever, and all
Well,
that
I think
stuff.
there's also so much confusion these days about what is happiness. I mean, I think I love what you're saying about internal finding happinness from within, which I think I would love to sort of unpack because I think it's one of those quick taglines that is, something I know about myself. I'm always thinking about like my sickest self, and she'd be like, I don't know what that means. You know what I mean? She'd be like, what does that mean? And then I'd probably just find another podcast that was like, you know, less intense. And this is really important, I think, what we're talking about, and so
Well,
that idea of like the idea of like we are when we are looking for happiness so often we're looking from it from external means. I love what you're saying, right? Like relationships, drugs, alcohol, partying, Instagram, all of that. And what you're saying is that there's an
Well, it
endpoint.
just dissipates. It doesn't
Yeah.
last. It doesn't last. And yet the craving for
Yeah.
connection, craving for happiness, the craving for connection, the craving for peace, the
Mm.
craving for ease, the craving for relief from all the noise in the head, just the constant gotta.
Oh,
It and the thing is
the
it's
noise
the
in the head, Bob.
yeah, nonstop, and you can't get
Nonstop.
away, and you can take a drug, or you can have a sexual experience, or you can have something that lasts for a moment, but then too often the consequences are not sort of worth it, except we still keep doing it. So the whole notion of meditation is properly understood and practiced. I use the analogy of an ocean, which is you have waves on the surface, choppy waves on the surface, let's say you're on a little boat and it's not COVID and you're
A
on a
little
little boat and
dingy.
you're a
Yeah, a
little
little
dinghy and you're in
dingy.
the middle of the ocean and all of a sudden you get these giant 20, 30-foot waves and you're in this little dinghy and you think, oh my God, the whole ocean is in upheaval. It seems that way, but if you did a cross section of the ocean there, you'd realize the waves may be 20 feet high, but the ocean is miles deep.
Mm,
And while the nature of the ocean may be turbulent on the surface, the nature of the ocean at its depth is pretty darn silent. And
mm.
so mind is the same, hypothetically. Surface of the mind is some people call it the monkey mind.
Yeah.
It's like I like to call it the gotta mind, you know?
Chasing, 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 chasing. Not enough, not
Chasing,
enough,
chasing.
not more,
Yeah.
more, 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 more.
Yeah.
I
And
have
so
that.
th-
That's
and
why I
so
came
you
to you. That's why I need meditation. It wouldn't
No, and
work.
so it's a natural human desire to say, I'd like some inner calm. I'd like some inner clarity. I'd like some inner focus. I'd like some inner connectedness. I want to feel comfortable in my own skin. I want to be able to sit
Mm.
and not feel like I need to be someplace else or be someone else. And that's
Yes.
this crave. And so the operative word there is inner. And the question is there such a thing as an inner? And if so, how do we get there? And then that's where enter the realm of meditation,
Mm.
because meditation in the past was associated with calm, power, energy, creativity. And transcendental meditation says that steadiness in the mind doesn't come from mindfully observing your thoughts or controlling the mind on the surface trying to stop the waves. It comes from accessing a field of profound connectedness deep within everyone. And
Oh, I love
so,
that. I mean, I
yeah,
have that, but I
you
just,
have that.
and I also
You
want to
are that.
say, I mean, can I ask you a question? I was going to
Yeah.
save this for later, but it feels like a right now question, Bob.
By the way, you are so good at this. I'm not kidding. You can edit this out if you want. I've done hundreds of these. This is my already like a few minutes in, my favorite one I've ever done.
Well, I mean, you're really one of my favorite people. I have a really okay. For everybody who's listening, I've spent a good amount of time with Bob because I'm a high maintenance person and I needed a lot of help when I
Oh,
was
you're
first
a
starting
wonderful person.
meditating. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think high
Okay.
maintenance is bad personally.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about self-acceptance, but I've never seen you be any other way that you are. And listen, poster child for meditation, you are like the smooth water, you're like cashmere smooth water. Bob, do you ever get angry?
Well, first remember, I've been at this for 50
I
years.
know, isn't it
Okay.
amazing?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
answer is
So
probably no. You're like,
no,
no, I don't really get
no,
angry.
no, no. What it is I find my anger will come up from not enough sleep
Okay.
or I eat something wrong that
Oh,
throws my
yeah.
microbiome. We all know this term
Yes. Well,
microbiome, and the
yeah, yeah.
microbiome, that balance gets thrown off. I eat something wrong and it makes me impatient but if I get enough sleep, if I do my thing, then I also think I'm getting older. So you just sort of like,
Like, stop caring so
it's
much.
just,
I feel,
yeah,
you know what?
yeah,
I'm a
yeah.
fire. I'm a fiery little lioness, but I can see that a lot of stuff kind of goes
No,
off.
and it go 25 years from now, you youngin. And
Thanks,
then,
Bob.
yeah.
I
And
really
so,
needed that.
yeah. So no, so my
So
anger
the
doesn't
answer is
come.
I don't really get angry. There's always, as in my business, we would say, there's always a vulnerability factor in charge if I am having a dysregulated moment. If I'm having a moment where I'm yelling at my assistant they're rare and if that you can always chart what happened.
But I'll tell you something. If I get angry, I accept it in myself. That's how I'm not trying to be, I'm not perfect. I do the best I can. I
But
immediately
pretty close.
apologize. But
But
I
pretty
know,
close. But
but
pretty close.
I apologize to the
Yes.
person because I don't think there's any justification. You could say, "Oh, justified because she did that or he did that," but there are better ways to
Yeah.
handle that situation.
What about on this anger idea? What about sort of the state of the world? What do you do with that? If it's something that upsets you. For those of you it doesn't upset, you can fast forward this part. But what do you do about that? How do you manage that feeling? It's a big feeling.
The drives the desire deeper to bring what I think is the missing element in the world today, which is meditation. That meditation in our culture taking a few minutes out for every human being to access that field of silence that lies within, it's like we haven't been eating protein or we
Ugh,
haven't been something. And
yeah,
so when we restore that, it restores balance in the limbic system, it brings the prefrontal cortex back online, it calms the sympathetic nervous system, it
yeah,
activates the I mean, all these words, but it rebalances the system because right now sleep is not enough
right.
to keep us balanced. So my thing is right now, what we're doing with the foundation that I run is we're working to get this meditation covered by health insurance and
Yes.
covered by Medicare so that anybody anywhere in the country or the world could get a prescription, just like they can get a prescription for an antihypertensive medication and have it be covered by their health insurance
Yeah,
company.
which has a lot of side effects, side note. I don't
Yeah,
know. There's not so many side effects in
there's
meditation.
none. So anyway, that's what we're trying
I
to
always
do.
say that. I always say this is the oldest prescription around, right?
Yeah.
And
So
it
all that
treats so
that
many
stuff does,
disorders.
when I look at that stuff in the world, when I look at the news and I watch the news, there's nothing I don't see that says, boy, if we could do something to heal that trauma in that person, if we could do something, I mean, we're working to bring TM to 1 million Syrian refugees
Wow.
right now in
Wow.
Turkey and Germany and Greece and all over
I
the
love
place.
that.
So it's a big vision.
I love so much about you. I love so much about David Lynch Foundation. And the thing I love the most, very personal to me, is the work you do with veterans. And also, I'm like a bit of a science nerd. And everything you do, you guys are creating an evidence base for meditation, which I think, for people who think it's culty or for people who think it's religious or for people, all of that, it's like a really helpful thing. What are you finding? Like, can you can you sell meditation to us a little bit from an outcomes perspective? Like, what will I get if I take this brave leap into the
Well,
world of
first of all,
transcendental meditation?
if you talk, so if we talk transcendental meditation, but if I could, there's three basic types of meditation according to science.
Teach
Okay.
us.
Okay.
He's gonna
So,
listen. You're bring your A game. You are a 45-year teacher. Let's bring the A game, Bob.
okay.
Get your
What is that?
everybody. Give them a
What,
minute. They need a
wait a minute, wait a minute,
notepad.
wait a minute, wait a minute. Is that a tattoo on your wrist?
Yeah, it's an ohm.
Oh, I
We're
can't
all
see it.
connected. It's like
I
the
can't see
ohm.
it.
It's
Oh,
the,
lovely.
like
Lovely, lovely.
Om.
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
I do know that. Yeah.
Bob,
So,
wait, everybody needs to get a note out on their phone because the master is about to speak. Okay,
let's
I'm ready.
dial it down, Molly. Let's dial it down. Just
That's
bring it
impossible.
down. Bring it down here, my dear. So the thing about the confusion, and science is clearing up, but the confusion is that no one anymore knows what the word meditation means because everybody uses the term. So
Yes.
it's all meditation the same? That's like saying all medicine is the same. It's not, or
Right.
all food diets they're not. And so research has been able to look at brain research, neuroscientists look at brain research because we know that every experience we have, discrete experience we have, impacts the brain in a discrete way. So if you listen
Mm,
to classical music, it has one effect on your brain. If you listen to heavy metal music, it has another effect on your brain. If you watch a romantic comedy, one effect. If you watch a horror movie, another effect.
mm,
So they took all these people doing all these meditations, they hooked them up with brain scans and EEG, and they found out with all the meditations out there, there's really three basic types.
mm.
And using the analogy of the ocean, and I'll keep this brief but simple and simple, the first type of meditation, is this interesting?
It's so
Okay, okay. The
interesting.
first type of meditation is called focused attention. Focused attention is your classic concentration type of meditation. Basically, it says if you want to have a calm ocean, what disrupts a calm ocean? Waves. So stop the waves and then you have a calm motion. If
How
you
do you
want to have,
stop the waves?
I
I'm
know.
sorry,
If
but
you want to have a calm mind, stop. If how do you disrupt what disrupts a calm mind? Thoughts. So stop thoughts. How do you disrupt waves? How do you stop thoughts? Very difficult, close to impossible. But the effort to do it, the focus on a point in your body or clear your mind of thoughts, creates something called gamma brain waves. This is for you science nerds out there.
yeah,
Gamma brain
she's
waves
here.
are 20 to 50 cycles per second. That's when your brain is, you're working really hard. Second type is a mindfulness or
Mm,
open monitoring.
mm-hmm.
And that says, Molly, that thoughts aren't necessarily the disruptor of calm, but the content of thoughts can be the disruptor of calm. So you could have thoughts about a guy named Joe, and if you don't know anybody named Joe, eh. But
Fill
if
in the
20 years,
blank. Fill
yeah,
in
but
the
if
blank.
but if 20
Yep.
years ago or 10 years ago Joe done you wrong, then so
Yeah.
what open monitoring means, dispassionately observe your thoughts, your moods, your feelings. Don't be 10 years ago, be in the present. And that's open monitoring or mindfulness. And that creates theta brain waves, 4 to 8 cycles per second. And the final, because this is really helpful, I think, for people to know they're different
Well, we're
things.
shopping, Bob.
Yeah. And
We're
the third
shopping.
is called, you're great. The third is called self-transcending. And self-transcending, what I said earlier, recognizes like the ocean has a vertical dimension, the mind has a vertical dimension. And the hypothesis is deep within all of us right now, whether we believe it or not, we don't have to visualize it. The hypothesis is deep within every one of us. There's a field where your mind is calm, settled, peaceful. And transcendental meditation gives access to that
Mhm.
effortlessly. And then there's a whole constellation of changes that take place in your brain and your nervous system and body when you do that meditation, completely different than the others.
Yeah. I also think, and maybe I'm not doing TM right, that there is a part where sometimes I'll sit and it's a little loud. And since I've been doing it for a while, I'm not so reactive to the loud. Right.
Exactly right. So when I said accessing that quiet,
Yeah.
that's just moving in that direction. I have lots of thoughts. How many thoughts we have in meditation?
Oh my
The
goodness.
great thing about TM is it's irrelevant.
I know.
Um,
I remember in the
my-
beginning, because my mind was like, I don't know, it wasn't like a monkey, it was like an ape. I mean, I don't know, maybe a smaller monkey.
No,
It
it
was
was a
just,
monkey on steroids
it was like a monkey took
on
Adderall.
speed.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like as an
That is
Adderall
a
monkey.
vision. That is a really good picture. A
It's also
monkey that,
accurate. It was an Adderall
yes.
monkey, a monkey addicted to Adderall. And I remember finishing the 20 minutes, my like little insight timer would go off, and I would be like, thank God that's over. Like I was so glad. And I don't know, desperation really lends to some pretty solid commitment because I just went back that later that day or the next day for whatever reason. And eventually it just wasn't as scary. I think something that happens to so many of us in our culture now, it's like, I do it once and it's not working. Do you find
No,
that with people?
no, but less now because again, there's so much research that shows when you do TM, there's this hormone called cortisol, which you know
Oh,
about.
all I want to talk about is cortisol.
So if you get a good night's sleep, cortisol drops 10%. Cortisol is a stress hormone, which we can talk about. But
Yes.
during 20 minutes of TM, it drops 30 to 40% every time. And so the point I wanted to make is one time a person, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi is the person, the
Oh, say that
physicist who,
slower. I love his
Mahar,
name.
Maharishi means
Yeah.
great teacher. Mahesh,
Mhm.
destroyer of ignorance. Yogi, union.
Oh.
And he's the one who brought transcendental meditation to the world. And one time, a person said to Maharishi, he said, well, Maharishi, sometimes my meditations seem deep, but sometimes they seem to be on the surface. Are the deeper ones better? And Maharishi said, they're both good. And the guy said, how's that possible? And Maharishi said, because even in a shallow dive, we get wet.
I, that is the quote of the year,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
Because I think that's true about expectation, which is what we're talking about there. And maybe not with transcendental meditation, which does take a level of commitment. But I think with everything, like something is always better than nothing. And at least in my experience, right, something leads to more, leads to more. And we're just so all or nothing these days, don't you think? Just
There's a
reactive,
part of there,
reactive,
yeah, yeah.
reactive.
Well, that's if we talk brain a little bit, we
Oh,
have too much cortisol.
oh,
We have hyper aroused sympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is a funny word because you think sympathetic and you
right.
think,
You think
oh,
that's the one that
no,
would
no,
be
no,
calm.
no. It's
No,
the
and
it's
it's
the
not.
fight or flight,
I
and we're
know.
just hyper aroused. And what transcendental meditation does is calms the sympathetic nervous system, reduces the cortisol, activates the vagal nerve, and the parasympathetic nervous system, which is called rest and digest. And it allows us to be balanced and do what we need to do. And it gives us the energy, as you know, to do what needs to be done. It's not like we become passive, but inside we're steady, and outside we got more energy than ever before.
Yeah, I just think there's a time in my life I was just a big time commitment phobe. And so if somebody said to me, well, first off, somebody said to me that my life would look like this, I'd be like, you're crazy. But specifically, if they
What does
said to
that mean? What
me,
does that mean? What does that mean?
oh, I think if they said, you don't drink and you don't binge eat and you're helping people and you like the quiet, because,
That wouldn't have been you? That wouldn't have been you?
oh my gosh, Bob, 15 years ago, I couldn't sit quietly for a millisecond. I would have needed something to fill or distract, or I'm actually always shocked when I really crave quiet now. It's bonkers. I mean, bonkers. I'm so glad that I remember how I used to be so I can have a little giggle at it.
So
Like
what happened to you? Why did you make that shift?
a desperation, completely and totally desperation. I think that I just saw how my life felt. I also think, frankly, with the food, I was like an actively addicted eating disorders therapist, and I saw very clearly the writing on the wall that that wasn't going to work. And in fairness, I think if I had a trust fund or a plan B, I might not have been brave enough to make the changes. But I think it was like SHIT or get off the pot, and I did it. The thing I think is really cool about it is that I've 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 had to. Desperation has caused me to have to make all of these like hard choices, and now I like know I can do hard things. And so I actually think by the time I got to you, I had done a lot of the stuff, but gosh, we're ever evolving, you know. This too shall pass in the good and the bad. I met you while the good was passing, right? And so when this proposition was made to me, you have to do this every day for 20 minutes, really 22 twice a day, I was like surrendered. I was like, all right, fine, whatever, man. Just help me not feel so bad, you know?
The interesting thing is, remember that there's 1,440 minutes in a day. And so
Yeah,
when
but
we
we're
talk about,
sleeping a lot of those, aren't we?
we're sleeping 7, 8, 6, 7 hours times 6, 40, 420,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So
I want
there,
to get accurate information out
yeah,
here. I
yeah,
sometimes I think I make things sound too easy to people, and I'm really cautious of that. Like I do think 40 to 44 minutes a day is a commitment. You're
yes,
worth it. Like, you're
yes.
worth it, and also, like, outcomes are insane. Just ask Oprah and Robin
Yeah.
Roberts and Tom Hanks and Jerry Seinfeld and Howard Stern, all these people.
But you
But
said something else that's great. Go ahead. I'm sorry I
no, I
interrupted.
think I'm done. I might
No,
have said
no, no,
something
you're not
insane.
done. Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I think it's really important to say, like, why in the world would I make such a commitment to something?
Well, one thing is, we look at the world, the trajectory that this world is on, it's not getting any better. And we also know internally, even quiet moments, the trajectory we're on in our own life is not sustainable.
This is the one,
When
Bob.
when when
Stay
it's
here.
not yeah, it's not sustainable, and I wanna go back to when this term that you used and when you said, desperation. In the ancient meditation texts, they quote you. They say they quote you. They say, there's 2 types of people who go for meditation. One is the yoga, which means just union, but it's the yoga for enlightenment. I wanna be happier, I'm happy and I wanna be happier. I'm healthy, I wanna be healthier. All this,
Yeah, I'm
and the
never there.
other and the
I'm never
other
there.
and the other one is called the yoga of desperation.
All day. This
Yeah.
girl.
I
This girl.
wanna I wanna wait I wanna get away from suffering, I wanna get away from pain, I wanna get away from sadness, I wanna get away. And the getting away actually means I wanna the solution is I wanna go in, because
Mm.
there's nothing out there you can get away from.
It's funny, it's so true how you say it, but when I was in the midst of that chaos, I don't think I would have been like, "Oh, you know what? I'm really empty inside and
Of course
I'm
not, no.
dark and I really need to get to know myself better because I hate myself so much." I could
But
say
at
that
some point,
now.
what got you to want to, meditate and make this change? What got you?
I think seeing the impact on other people. I think having I think mostly, frankly, like an inner no. I knew it. I knew that that was going to be the real jumping off point for me and I knew enough. I mean, and I'm also a therapist, so I knew enough that like I needed a better handle on this Adderall monkey mind. And it was not, as exactly as you're saying, it was not going to get better, right? Like my anxiety was progressive, my neuroses was progressive, and I needed to make a big leap into doing something significant about it. I also want to say I love a good community. I love a good ritual, and I think that transcendental meditation with my little like mantra and my little like community, like that really worked for me too. I liked having a thing I was doing, not just like a app. That's
Well,
my stuff.
no, and the teacher is in person. It's
I
not,
mean,
just
and a
online. You
delightful human.
I just think that
From
right
the minute
now.
I met you, I'm like, there's no way he's that nice. Like, and you've never proved me wrong, ever. There's no way someone is that nice. I think you might have been born this nice.
No, we all go through dark times. I went through in high school, when I went to college, when I went to Berkeley, I went there with this idea. Okay, so 1968.
Okay.
I'm the guy in my high school, and I'm going to change the world. And then I go to Berkeley. Bobby Kennedy just has been killed, which is
Mm.
devastating to me. But now I'm resolved, and now to make a difference. And now, first year at college anyway is impossible.
I mean,
But this is,
I think it should be a bi year. Like your first year
yeah,
shouldn't even count. You should have 5 years.
yeah, the rioting in the streets
Oh,
and everything that I believed in, that, oh, I thought, all right, politics, just seeing that it was just so divisive and so because right up front there at Berkeley, the left was violent on women. The left was, it was just violent everywhere. And so I didn't know where to stand. It was a very dark time
mm,
for me. And
mhm.
um, I somehow I realized that this inner angst, this inner pain was not going to go away from a drug trip, from smoking marijuana, from getting it just, I wanted, I didn't want to take anything. It's,
Mm.
if I felt pain, I want to know why, and I wanted to heal it myself. I didn't want to mask it. And that was heady stuff for a 17 or an 18-year
Yeah.
old
Well,
kid.
you know what it speaks to? Like, and what the woman who taught me my specialty in therapy, Marcia Linehan, and I think in AA talks about this. There is such an untapped inner wisdom that we all have inside of us. Like, and that voice inside of you that says, these drugs are not going to work. Like, we got to do something better, which I think effectively is what happened for me too, which was like, I was out of ideas when I came to you. Like, I had already exhausted the eating disorder route, I'd exhausted the drug route.
Were you ever suicidal?
Oh my God, most of my life, that was an option until I got in recovery from eating disorder and addiction was the first time that got off the table. Passive, it's just always like, oh, the bus hit me, the bus hit me. That's fine. And I'm telling you, like, it's one of the greatest miracles of my life. And I think those around me that isn't even, I think the other thing this happens in parasuicidality. And I think just in that, the life becomes the size of a postage stamp. It becomes so small, at least for me. It didn't occur to me that I mattered in the world. And that's a problem. And that's a problem for all of us. Like I couldn't even get there. And so I think as I got more awakened and I got healthier and I got more connected both to my internal wisdom, to something bigger than me, to the people around me, I think I understood kind of how full of self I was and how not in the world I was. And listen, and if you're sitting here and you're listening and you're depressed, like I get it. I'm not judging that. It's just, I think what I love about meditation and spirituality in general is that we can subscribe to a different way. Like there are lessons we can learn to rewire. I'm a rewired person. I mean, that's the thing. I'm not, I don't even wake up the first thing in the morning. Like if Bob, if you and I talked like first thing in the morning and I just told you like everything I was thinking and like what I thought of the world, you would not have nice things. You would feel sorry for me because you're the nicest person I ever met. You'd probably like put your hand on your heart, say, Molly, it's so hard for you. But that's before meditation and then my journal and then a little talking.
Well, you said something really important, and that is rewiring the brain.
Absolutely.
We have neural pathways. It's an interesting thing. I've been doing some research. This whole, and you probably know about it, but this whole
Oh.
understanding now about depression.
Mm,
That depression is not necessarily a disease or a disorder, but it is actually the long-term result of the fight, flight, or freeze response. So when we feel
wow.
a threat, it's so you can Google it. It's just coming out. So a person feels a threat to their existence.
Right.
And so the normal thing is I'm mobilized, I'm going to fight it or I'm going to run. But if you can't fight or run, then what happens is this immobilization, this
Right.
freeze. You're paralyzed. You go in and you just like hide inside, and you hope if you're being hit, you're timid. You're not going to fight back.
Yeah.
Well, and that's on a physical level, but can also be any threat. Even you're in grade school and you feel threatened by people or some, they're
Right.
more pretty, they're prettier than I am. And that sense of threat that's in a preconscious level, it's not even it's in the body feels it before the mind has its narrative. Well, when that doesn't lift, that immobilization carries on and on and on, now they're seeing that that leads to what they call depression.
Yeah.
And depression is not, I'm a bad person on the outside. Something has happened to me and I need to change my neural pathways. I need to have new experiences. And the experience of transcending, of that diving within, rewires the brain in a most profound and integrated way.
Yeah. That and so that if we go back to this thing that we're talking about, which I think is so important in the time that we have left, happiness comes from within. Can we, that book like Dummy's Guide to, can we like Dummy's Guide to that together? Because I think for anybody listening, I think if I heard that, I think it would overpower my mind and I'd be like, I don't know what they're talking about. I'm just gonna go binge on some Doritos. I love
Mm.
Doritos.
Do you use them
Doritos.
in a dip or just
I
Doritos?
mean, I don't really eat them anymore. I had them maybe 2 years ago, and I
What
don't
was
eat
like
that
your
much.
favorite all-time bad food that you just loved?
There's so many. I mean, I love a good ring ding.
I was a Sara Lee banana cake.
Yeah.
Oh
That's a
God,
really
like straight
that's like a
sugar,
very
right?
that's like a very sweet food. Like, that's just, like, such a lovely.
No, but that was during the days of high school when you would like want donuts after you had smoked
Yeah. I
marijuana.
would, like, yeah.
So
Like,
it was
take ring dings, like, out of the garbage. I'm kind of like
oh
I'm like
oh
a gutter girl up
no no,
there.
but I always loved banana cake, but anyway. So the thing is, let's just look at the brain. You know, this for the next few minutes. There's this wonderful state. You know, people say, "I love you with my whole heart."
I
Well,
do love you with
actually,
my whole heart,
and
Bob.
I love you with my whole
Oh,
heart
that's
too.
so
But
great.
actually, the truth is, you love me with your whole brain. I
Oh.
love you with my whole brain. It's not in the heart,
Mm,
it's in the brain. Love and addiction, all of that happens in the brain. Sadness, depression, it's in the brain. We may feel a heavy heart, but really it's in the brain. So if you're talking about happiness, true happiness, there's four happy hormones. I hope you don't mind we go neuroscience here, do you?
love a
Is it
good
okay?
science nerd
Okay.
moment.
Okay. There's four hormones, they call them the happy hormones, that make you legitimately inside feel happy. The first is called serotonin, which I'm sure
Mhm.
you've heard of.
Sure.
Yeah, serotonin is your well-being neurotransmitter. That's the one where you just feel after meditation, transcendental meditation increases serotonin. It's you open your eyes after you've done TM and someone says, "Hey, I feel good."
Yeah.
Why? I just feel good.
Yep.
That's your mood stabilizer. There's another hormone called dopamine,
Ooh.
which is your basically your drug, your pleasure.
Mhm. Sure
Like,
is.
yeah,
That's the chaser. Mhm.
that's the chaser. And then there's another one called oxytocin,
Oh, that's
which
the
is
big chaser, Bob. You're really
yeah,
selling it.
I know. Well, oxytocin is trust, love. It comes in orgasm, but it also comes childbirth. It comes nursing. It comes when a grandchild just touches the hand of a grandmother or grandfather. The grandmother or grandfather has oxytocin from just that touch.
Mm.
It's human bonding. And then the other is endorphins. And
Oh,
endorphin is a painkiller. It's a runner's high.
that's
It's like a
right.
drug. It's morphine. The word endorphin's morphine,
That's right.
and but endorphin means from the
The
inside,
rush.
so
Yeah.
the rush. Well, It's interesting because the brain has the same uses the same receptors for its own endorphins that it does for morphine.
Hmm.
All that stuff aside, the point is, in order to have lasting happiness, not just temporary, lasting happiness, it comes from doing good things for yourself, rebooting your system. It
Mm-hmm.
comes from eating properly. It comes from getting enough sleep. It comes from having someone like you as their therapist. It comes
I think
from
there are some who would disagree with that, but that's
it
okay.
comes from meditation. It comes from there's no quick fix to just happy, giddy, happy. And where is all that happiness coming from? Inside,
Right.
not coming from out. Anything I get happy from something outside, it lasts a split second. But when I meditate, that all those happy hormones, they're stabilized, they're steady, they're there. So that was a
Well,
long
can I ask
answer.
a question?
Sure. Was that interesting just then?
I mean, I think everything you could read the phone book to me and I would think it's
Okay, I
interesting.
have it here.
I'm
Just a
not
minute.
really the audience to ask if
Yeah.
what you're
All
saying.
right. Go ahead. Go
I'll
ahead.
ask my audience and we'll get some
Okay.
feedback on it.
All right.
Though I don't think you should read a note of negative feedback personally. Um, so another person I'm obsessed with is Brene Brown. And
Yes.
I mean, how could you not be? And she talks about this like foreboding joy and how we're sometimes like really scared to feel happy because then we have loss, right? It sort of cues this idea like, oh my God, what if I feel this happiness right now? Then that means I could lose it, which I really think is something we're suffering with in a significant way. I encounter a lot of people who say they're like feelings phobic. And so what they're doing is they're shutting off themselves so that they don't have to have negative feelings. And in that way, they're shutting off the positive feelings, right? And then that cuts off all the meaning
But
and all the
that's when
bliss.
happiness comes from outside where it can come and go. And that's the value of meditation
Yes, Bob.
because
Yes.
it can change. I love this woman. I love this man. I love this child. Well, the child goes off to school. I love this woman. Well, she doesn't love me anymore. Or
Right.
she dies
Right.
or whatever. I love this job. I lose the job. I love how I look. Well, in 2 years, I'm going to look different. If I feel love because based on something outside, I'm in real deep shit.
Right.
This
It's
is
that
why meditate.
attachment. Yes. That
Yes,
attachment they talk about
because
in
it can be
Buddhism.
broken.
Yes.
Because it can be broken.
Oh,
But
I love that.
inside, when you dive deep within in transcendental meditation, at ocean, fathom deep, quiet levels of your own innermost nature, way beyond my phobias, which are on the surface. Down there, it's very sweet, simple, quite nice. And that I just like in a storm, the ocean seems really turbulent, but you just go 10 or 15 feet under the
Yeah.
water, it's steady. So that experience of my own quiet innermost self, my me, is a very peaceful, blissful, reassuring experience. And that, Molly Carmel, rewires my brain in a way that there's no threat of losing it because that happiness comes from my own connection with myself. And I ain't going
I
anywhere.
love that. And then I can
Then I
start
can
to
love.
have these larger feel right. Then it's like, okay, well, if I'm cool inside, we're good, top to
Then
bottom, Molly Carmel, then I can have like deep love for Bob Roth
that's right.
because what
And
happens,
be
happens.
because I'm resilient now. Now
Mm,
I'm
I
not
love that.
lost.
That's a word. We could just have a whole podcast on that word, couldn't we?
Absolutely.
Resilient. Well, that's a
Actually, I was
really
talking to this one person and they said, well, they think resilient is just coming back to where you were. They like hope or something where you can go beyond where you were. So
over
resilient.
resilient. Resilient on Adderall? No, that's not okay. But no, I hear
Anyway.
that. I hear that.
Anyway, but I use the word resilient. It makes sense
Love it.
because if I'm establishing myself, and that not in some woo-woo way, but when I am that way from meditation, then my brain is functioning powerfully, creatively. There's a part of the brain called the imagination network. The default, it's really on all cylinders, and my focus is functioning really great. Then a job, something comes, something goes. I'm not lost. I'm
I
not
love
like a
that.
little child in a sandbox who someone steals my wagon.
Because you're
I'm not.
home. Because you're
Yes.
home. Like you are like, I wish I could like you are
Beautiful.
in your home because you are
Beautiful.
you.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you,
That
Bob.
just you just summarized the whole 53 minutes of a conversation
Can I
right
ask one
there.
more question?
You can
So
ask
here's
it.
the other.
I'm good. I'm loving this.
Me too. So, because I think, first of all, did you read Julia Cameron, Artist's Way? Oh, such a good book. I never thought of myself a creative until I
Oh,
read
you're
Julia
very
Cameron.
creative.
Julia Cameron says we're all creative, which is great. I agree, 1000%. But oh my goodness, being able to settle into myself has, I call them downloads. I'll have a meditation and I'll come out, or I'll just be in life and I'll just be able to like have this beautiful thought come in and it's totally what's needed. And there's such an ease to how I create now, or even just interact with people, know what to say a little bit better, practice of therapy so much easier. Do all these famous people you treat say that about their meditation, that it helps them with their practice of being amazing? Hi, Oprah.
Well, for fear of doing too much brain science,
Is there
the
such
answer
a
to that
thing?
question, no, the answer to that is yes. The amazing people, you look at some people who've been doing transcendental meditation for 40, 50 years. Paul McCartney,
Oh yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld,
Oh yeah.
even Howard Stern.
Yeah.
People have been long times. They're at the top of their game and they stay there. They
Right.
don't burn out. They're constantly David Lynch,
Oh yeah.
constantly replenishing themselves. And they replenish themselves because what the meditation does is it gives them access to that reservoir of creativity from within. And it wakes up the part of the brain, and you're going to love this. It's called, I said it before, it's called the Imagination Network. It's also called the Genius Lounge.
Yes. I wish I had named my podcast that.
I know
The
I'm
Genius Lounge. Can
no.
you name your podcast that?
Yes, I am. I am.
I really
But
think you
the point is there's a part of the brain where the brain is not focused. You know how sometimes you can't figure out a solution to a problem and then you take a hot shower
Yeah,
or you go for a walk and then you go, "Oh my God."
totally.
That is the genius lounge. That's waking that part of the brain up that's just accessing that deeper resources. And so TM wakes up the genius lounge and keeps it awake.
No, like that's the most true thing. I just chill in and because I'm just a human, I have some data of my own, which is there are times where my practice has lagged. And
Yeah, of
oh my
course.
goodness, do I see a different version? I'm like, oh, there she is, on edge, not able to focus, procrastinating, all these things. And then I'll just go back and then I'm like, oh, there it is. There she is again. What's like one takeaway, if you had to just give us like one little nugget, what would you want to say to us? No pressure.
No, I have two.
Okay.
And I keep this in.
I'm ready. I'm
Listen
taking a
to
breath.
Molly's podcast because because she's going to have I'm not spinning anything. I'm telling you what I believe. You're going to have guests on your show that are going to reveal insights of truth that can change people's lives. You are curating a whole crazy world out there and finding people that you feel in the pure love of your heart and your desire to share that will help other people, the
Don't you
listeners.
think truth is just the greatest serum that exists? It just heals my heart. It speaks to my heart.
There's a beautiful line that's on an ancient Vedic term that's on the flag of India that says, Satyame Vijayate, truth alone triumphs. Not just truth triumphs, only truth triumphs.
I think that's so beautiful. What else can they do other than listening to my podcast? What do you think the big takeaway about meditation and all of it is, or life?
Know yourself through meditation,
Mm,
be true to yourself because of your connections with yourself. Always be true to yourself. Just be true to
mm.
yourself. And two simple things when you think about relationships, work, food. It's the simplest thing. Do what you know
Mm,
in your heart of hearts to be right, and don't do what you know in your heart of hearts to be wrong.
that's great. I can't wait to transcribe that and put that up on a
Know
piece of paper.
yourself, be true to yourself, do what you know in your heart of hearts to be right, and don't do what you know in your heart of hearts to be wrong.
And that is
It's
the
it's the
recipe.
essence of all the commandments, all everything,
Well, it
everything.
gave me the chills, so I know it's something. I'll tell you that. And you, Bob Roth, are something.
And you
We,
just everybody listening to this thing, listen to Molly's show.
you
It's a
are
it's a
something,
precious
Bob Roth.
resource. It's a precious resource. Otherwise, you don't have to go just do your searching, do keep investigating, but listen to this. When you asked me to do this thing, I thought, absolutely,
Thank you.
absolutely.
I'm going to try. I think it's so, we have so many things we need to talk about. We got, like, I'm so tired of the surface level. Like, we got to get
Uh,
underneath to the real stuff. And that is what we are going to do here.
Now,
Um,
in a few, whenever you've done this for a while, I want to interview you on your show.
can't wait.
I want, I
Let's
want
do
to,
it.
I want to, I want to turn the tables for your
Yeah.
show. People should hear what you have to say about all this.
I adore you.
I adore you.
What a time. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And do you want to tell people how to like get in touch with you and know
Yes,
more about
yes.
your amazing everything? Tell
They
them.
can they can email me directly.
Woo!
This is my
Woo!
email address,
Get the notepad out.
bob@davidlynchfoundation.org.
Yeah.
Bob David Lynch at foundation and .org. That goes to me. Nobody else, not my assistant, it goes directly to me. And
Amazing.
I will respond.
What if I want to just quickly learn
And
TM?
you
What if
you
I
go to tm.org.
Wonderful.
tm.org.
I mean, it might be one of the greatest investments that you will make for yourself in yourself to find that happiness within. I can tell you personally, I mean, so can Jerry Seinfeld, whatever, potato,
If
potato.
Molly can do it. No, it's true. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're spending this time, because this is something legitimate and genuine, and it will resonate deep within your soul. There's no philosophy, there's no shtick, there's no nothing. It's a technique that you learn and you have it for the rest of your
Yeah,
life.
and
And
you're
it's
worth it. And if you're considering it, what's the downside? That's what I was, like, what's the downside? So, with that, my love, I'll
my
talk to
dear.
you soon. Love you,
I,
love you.
I love
Thank
you.
you,
This
thank
is
you.
wonderful. Thank you for having me on your show.
Okay, love you, Bob.
Love you more.